Welcome to episode 1 of the About Bitcoin podcast. The reason I made this podcast is because when I read about or listen about Bitcoin, it can be quite technical, and sometimes I wonder if I could do, if not a better, maybe a different job of breaking it down for people, so absolute beginners could understand it. Some of the episodes I have planned are as follows. Why Bitcoin doesn't actually exist. Now, don't get angry by that statement. And remember, I love Bitcoin too. But that's the way I think about Bitcoin, and that's the way I explain it. And maybe if you don't agree, then you might agree after you listen to episode 2. In another episode, we're going to talk about wallets. Because as we become more familiar with Bitcoin, we might forget that absolute beginners could be confused by the term wallet, because to most people, a wallet is something you have in your pocket with notes and coins and cards. So what does it mean, a wallet? We'll talk about wallets that live on your phone, wallets that live on your computer, and even hardware wallets that you can buy anywhere these days. Should you buy them anywhere? We'll talk about it. We'll talk about seed phrases in another episode. Such an amazing invention or discovery, whatever you want to call it. How we can use words to manage our cryptographic keys. So interesting. We'll talk about the 13th word, the 25th word, also known as passphrases, and ways to keep secure your seed phrases. In another episode, we'll talk about the fact that there's no password on your Bitcoin account, and I use air quotes around the word account because it's not really an account. But there's no password. You can have a password on your wallet, on your phone or your computer, or a PIN code on your hardware wallet, but there's no password on your Bitcoin account. It's actually quite scary and quite interesting. Although I'm sure if I had the depth of mathematical understanding that the creator or creators of Bitcoin have or had, then I probably wouldn't worry about it. But I find it an interesting subject all the same. We'll talk about CBDCs in another episode. Central bank digital currencies. How do they impact Bitcoin? Will they replace Bitcoin? Could Bitcoin coexist? Are they good or bad? What impact might they have? I can give a spoiler alert for that episode. I think as CBDCs are rolled out, Bitcoin will become more relevant. In another episode, we'll talk about the 21 million Bitcoin hard cap, which means there can never be any more than 21 million Bitcoins. Who manages that number? What power do they have to change that number? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Are there enough Bitcoins to go around? We'll talk about it. We'll talk about mining. What is mining? Why does it exist? Why do we need it? Will we always need it? Should you mine? We'll discuss mining in simple terms. And in another episode, we're going to talk about centralized and decentralized exchanges and KYC and AML. KYC and AML being terms that have come across from traditional banking and finance, introduced by regulators because they want to know who you are, where you are, what you have. They want to know everything about you, basically. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Why do you have to give your passport over when you want to buy Bitcoin from a centralized exchange? Is it completely necessary? And is there a way to buy Bitcoin without doing that? And would you want to? We'll talk about it. I have a lot more topics on my mind, which I'm looking forward to discussing with you. If you, the listener, have any ideas about topics you'd like me to cover, or things you'd like me to clarify a bit, then please get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. My email address is mail@aboutbitcoinpodcast.com. I mean, there wasn't much in this episode, but still, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're as excited as I am for the forthcoming episodes. But for now, that was it. See you next time.